Have you ever felt all alone and wondered why? Maybe you've asked yourself, why am I always by myself? Or why can't I find someone to be with? Well, what if I told you that being alone might actually be part of God's plan for you? I know it sounds crazy, but hear me out. What if the very thing you think is bad, being alone, is actually good for you in ways you never imagined? You see, we often think that being alone is a bad thing. We see people around us in relationships, hanging out with friends, or always surrounded by others, and we feel like we're missing out. But what if I told you that God sometimes chooses certain people to be alone for a special reason? That's right, you might be one of the chosen ones. Someone God has picked to spend time alone for a greater purpose. In this video, we're going to dive deep into 9 reasons why God might want you to be alone. And let me tell you, these reasons might just change the way you look at your alone time forever. So if you've been feeling lonely or wondering why you're not in a relationship, this video is for you. Stick around until the end, because I've got a special message that might just make you see your situation in a whole new light. Now, you might be thinking, come on, how can being alone be a good thing? Well, that's exactly what we're going to explore. These 9 reasons aren't just random ideas. They're based on spiritual truths and real-life experiences that many people have gone through. And who knows? By the end of this video, you might just start seeing your alone time as a blessing rather than a curse. Let's talk about what we mean by the chosen. When I say you might be chosen, I'm not talking about being picked for a sports team or winning a contest. No, this is something much deeper and more meaningful. Being chosen in this context means that God has singled you out for a special purpose. It's like He's looked at you and said, I've got big plans for you. And to prepare you for those plans, I need you to spend some time alone. Now, I know that might sound a bit scary or even unbelievable. You might be thinking, why would God choose me? I'm nothing special. But that's where you're wrong. In many spiritual traditions, including Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, there are stories of people who were chosen by God for important tasks. And guess what? Many of these people spent long periods alone before they fulfilled their purpose. Think about it this way. When an athlete is training for a big competition, they often need to spend time alone. They need to focus, to practice, to build their strength without distractions. In the same way, God might be using your alone time to prepare you for something big in your life. But here's the thing. Being chosen doesn't mean your life will be easy. In fact, it might be quite challenging at times. You might feel lonely, confused, or even frustrated. But as we go through these 9 reasons, I think you'll start to see how these challenges can actually help you grow and become the person you're meant to be. 9 reasons, a journey of discovery. Now, let's dive into the heart of our topic. The 9 reasons why God might want you to be alone. As we go through these, I want you to keep an open mind. Some of these reasons might resonate with you right away, while others might take some time to sink in. And that's okay. Everyone's journey is different, and what matters is that you're here, listening, and willing to explore these ideas. These 9 reasons aren't just random thoughts. They're based on spiritual principles, real-life experiences, and the wisdom of people who have gone through periods of being alone. As we explore each reason, try to think about how it might apply to your own life. You might be surprised at what you discover about yourself and your relationship with God. The first reason God might want you to be alone is to give you time for self-discovery. In our busy, noisy world, it's easy to lose touch with who we really are. We're constantly bombarded with other people's opinions, expectations, and ideas about who we should be. But when we're alone, we have the chance to strip away all those outside influences and really get to know ourselves. Think about it like this. Imagine you're in a room full of people and everyone is talking at once. It's hard to hear your own thoughts, right? But when you're alone in a quiet room, you can finally hear that inner voice, the voice that tells you what you truly think, feel, and believe. During your alone time, you might start to notice things about yourself that you never realized before. Maybe you'll discover a talent you didn't know you had, or find out that you're stronger than you thought. You might realize that some of the things you thought were important to you actually don't matter that much, while other things you've been ignoring are actually really valuable. This self-discovery is crucial because it helps you understand your true self. the person God created you to be. When you know who you really are, you're better equipped to make decisions that align with your values and purpose. You're less likely to be swayed by peer pressure or societal expectations, and more likely to follow the path that's right for you. But self-discovery isn't always easy. It can be scary to face our true selves, including our flaws and weaknesses. We might uncover parts of ourselves that we don't like or that make us uncomfortable. But remember, God loves you exactly as you are, flaws and all. This time of self-discovery isn't about beating yourself up over your shortcomings. It's about understanding yourself better so you can grow and become the best version of yourself. Here's a little story to illustrate this point. I once knew a woman named Sarah who always thought she wanted to be a lawyer because that's what her parents expected of her. She was always surrounded by people who reinforced this idea. But when she found herself alone for a period of time after moving to a new city, she started to question this path. As she spent time with her own thoughts, she realized that what she really loved was art. She discovered a passion for painting that she had never allowed herself to explore before. This period of being alone led her to completely change her life direction, and she's now a successful artist who feels fulfilled in her work. So if you're feeling alone right now, try to see it as an opportunity. Use this time to really get to know yourself. What do you like? What do you believe in? What are your dreams and hopes? Don't be afraid to ask yourself these big questions. The answers might surprise you, and they could lead you to a life that's more authentic and fulfilling than you ever imagined. The second reason God might want you to be alone is to strengthen your relationship with Him. When we're constantly surrounded by other people, it's easy to rely on them for support, guidance, and companionship. But sometimes, God wants us to learn to lean on Him instead. Think of it this way. If you're always hanging out with your friends, you might not make time to call your parents or siblings. Your relationships with them might start to weaken because you're not putting in the time and effort to maintain them. In the same way, if we're always surrounded by other people, we might not make enough time for our relationship with God. Being alone gives us the chance to focus on God without distractions. It's like having a one-on-one conversation with your best friend, where you can really open up and be honest. When we're alone, we can pray more deeply, read spiritual texts more attentively, and listen for God's guidance more clearly. This alone time with God can be really powerful. You might find that you start to understand spiritual truths in a new way, or that you feel God's presence more strongly than ever before. You might even start to see signs of God's work in your life that you never noticed before. But building this relationship takes time and effort. At first, you might feel awkward or unsure about how to connect with God. That's normal. Just like any relationship, it takes practice to feel comfortable. Start small. Maybe spend a few minutes each day in quiet prayer or reflection. As you get more comfortable, you can extend this time and try different ways of connecting with God, like journaling your thoughts, singing worship songs, or spending time in nature. Here's a personal example. When I was younger, I used to think that being spiritual meant going to church and saying the right prayers. But when I went through a period of being alone, I started to explore my relationship with God in a more personal way. I began taking walks in the park and just talking to God like I would to a friend. I started to see signs of God's presence in the beauty of nature around me. This time alone completely transformed my understanding of spirituality and made my faith feel real and personal in a way it never had before. Remember, God isn't some distant, unreachable figure. He wants to have a close, personal relationship with you. This time alone could be His way of inviting you into a deeper connection. So don't be afraid to open up to God during your alone time. Share your thoughts, your fears, your dreams, even your doubts. God can handle it all, and He's always listening. As you strengthen your relationship with God, you might find that you start to feel less alone, even when you're by yourself. You might start to feel a sense of peace and purpose that comes from knowing you're connected to something bigger than yourself. And this relationship can become a source of strength and guidance that stays with you even when you're back in the hustle and bustle of everyday life. The third reason God might want you to be alone is to teach you how to be content by yourself. In today's world, we're often taught that we need other people or things to make us happy. We think we need a romantic partner, a big group of friends, or lots of stuff to feel good about ourselves. But the truth is, true contentment comes from within, and sometimes we need to be alone to learn this important lesson. Being content alone doesn't mean you never want to be around other people. It just means that you're okay with yourself, that you can find peace and happiness even when you're on your own. This is a really valuable skill to have in life because let's face it, there will always be times when we find ourselves alone, whether we choose to be or not. Learning to be content alone starts with changing how you think about alone time. Instead of seeing it as something negative or boring, try to see it as a gift. It's a chance to do things you enjoy without having to please anyone else. You can read that book you've been wanting to read, try out a new hobby, or just sit and enjoy the quiet. Being content alone also means learning to enjoy your own company. This might sound strange at first, but think about it. You're the one person you're guaranteed to spend your whole life with. Shouldn't you learn to like being around yourself? Start by paying attention to your thoughts and feelings. Are you kind to yourself in your own mind? Do you appreciate your own qualities and accomplishments? Now, I'm not saying this is easy. At first, you might feel uncomfortable or even anxious when you're alone. That's normal. Our brains are wired to seek out social connection, so being alone can feel strange at first. But like any skill, being content alone gets easier with practice. Here's a little trick that might help. Try treating yourself the way you treat a good friend. Would you constantly criticize a friend and point out their flaws? Probably not. So why do that to yourself? Instead, be kind and encouraging to yourself. Celebrate your successes, no matter how small. Comfort yourself when things go wrong. I remember when I first started practicing being alone, I felt really awkward. I didn't know what to do with myself, but I started small, just spending an hour or two alone each day. I tried different activities, reading, drawing, going for walks. Slowly, I started to enjoy my alone time. I found that I could think more clearly when I was by myself, and I started to appreciate qualities about myself that I had never noticed before. As you learn to be content alone, you might find that your relationships with others actually improve. When you're not depending on other people to make you happy, you can approach relationships from a place of wholeness rather than need. You become a better friend, partner, or family member because you're secure in yourself. Remember, being content alone doesn't mean you have to be alone all the time. It just means that when you are alone, you're okay with it. You can find joy and peace in your own company, and that's a beautiful thing. So if you're feeling alone right now, try to see it as an opportunity to develop this important life skill. Embrace your alone time. Use it to get to know yourself better, to do things you enjoy, to find peace in the quiet moments. You might be surprised at how much you grow and how much stronger you become. Being alone isn't always easy, but it can be a powerful tool for personal growth and spiritual development. These first 3 reasons, time for self-discovery, strengthening your relationship with God, and learning to be content alone, are just the beginning of understanding why God might want you to be alone. As we continue to explore the other reasons, you'll see how this time of solitude can shape you into a stronger, wiser, and more fulfilled person. Remember, being chosen for this time alone doesn't mean you're meant to be lonely forever. It's a season, a time of preparation and growth. Embrace it, learn from it, and trust that it's all part of a bigger plan for your life. Who knows? The person you become during this time alone might be exactly the person you need to be for the next exciting chapter of your life. The 4th reason God might want you to be alone is to help you develop inner strength. When we're always surrounded by others, it's easy to lean on them for support. But there are times in life when we need to stand on our own 2 feet, and that's where inner strength comes in. Think of inner strength like a muscle. Just like you need to lift weights to build physical strength, you need to face challenges on your own to build inner strength. When you're alone, you're forced to solve problems by yourself, to face your fears, and to push through difficult emotions without relying on others to rescue you. This doesn't mean you should never ask for help. Of course not. But having inner strength means you know you can handle things on your own when you need to. It's about building confidence in your own abilities and resilience in the face of challenges. Developing inner strength often involves facing your fears. Maybe you're afraid of being alone, or you worry about what might happen if you don't have someone to help you. By spending time alone, you start to realize that you're capable of handling more than you thought. You learn to trust yourself and your own judgment. I remember when I first moved to a new city for a job. I didn't know anyone, and at first, I felt really scared and lonely. But as time went on, I started to figure things out on my own. I learned how to navigate the city, how to solve problems at work without constantly asking for help, and how to comfort myself when I felt down. It wasn't easy, but by the end of that year, I felt stronger and more confident than ever before. Inner strength also helps you stay true to yourself and your values. When you know you can handle things on your own, you're less likely to compromise who you are just to fit in or please others. You become more authentic, more genuine, because you're not constantly seeking approval from others. So if you find yourself alone, try to see it as a chance to build your inner strength. Face your fears head on. Try solving problems by yourself before asking for help. Push yourself to do things you've never done before. It might be scary at first, but with each challenge you overcome, you'll feel stronger and more capable. The fifth reason God might want you to be alone is to give you time for healing and self-reflection. Life can be tough sometimes. We all go through experiences that hurt us or leave us feeling confused or lost. Being alone gives us the space we need to process these experiences and heal from them. Think of it like this. When you get a physical injury, you often need to rest to let your body heal. In the same way, when you've been hurt emotionally or spiritually, you need time to rest and recover. Being alone provides that quiet space where you can reflect on what happened, understand your feelings, and start to heal. Self-reflection is a big part of this healing process. It's about looking honestly at your life, your choices, and your reactions to things. When we're always busy and surrounded by others, it's easy to ignore our inner thoughts and feelings. But when we're alone, we have the chance to really listen to ourselves. During this time of self-reflection, you might realize things about yourself that you never noticed before. Maybe you'll see patterns in your behavior that aren't helpful, or understand why certain situations always seem to upset you. This kind of self-awareness is super valuable because once you understand yourself better, you can start to make positive changes. I remember a time in my life when I was always arguing with my family. I felt angry all the time and didn't know why. It wasn't until I spent some time alone, really thinking about my feelings, that I realized I was carrying around hurt from things that had happened years ago. Once I understood this, I was able to start dealing with those old hurts and healing my relationships. Healing and self-reflection can be tough. You might have to face some painful truths or confront memories you'd rather forget. But remember, this process is like cleaning out a wound. It might hurt at first, but it's necessary for true healing to happen. During this time, be gentle with yourself. It's okay to cry, to feel angry, to write down your thoughts, or to talk to God about how you're feeling. This is all part of the healing process. And as you heal, you'll likely find that you become stronger, wiser, and more compassionate, both towards yourself and others. The sixth reason God might want you to be alone is to help you discover your purpose in life. We all want to know why we're here, what we're meant to do with our lives. But finding your purpose isn't always easy, especially when you're surrounded by the noise and expectations of others. Being alone gives you the quiet space you need to really think about what matters to you. What are you passionate about? What makes you feel alive? What kind of difference do you want to make in the world? These are big questions, and they often require time and deep thought to answer. Think of it like trying to listen to a quiet voice in a noisy room. When there's lots of noise around you, other people's opinions, society's expectations, the constant buzz of social media, it's hard to hear that inner voice that's trying to guide you. But when you're alone, in the quiet, you can start to hear it more clearly. Discovering your purpose often involves trying new things and exploring different ideas. When you're alone, you have the freedom to do this without worrying about what others think. You can read books on topics that interest you, try out new hobbies, or volunteer for causes you care about. All of these experiences can help you understand what really matters to you and what you're good at. I remember a friend who always thought her purpose was to be a successful businesswoman because that's what her family expected. But when she took a year off to travel alone, she discovered a passion for teaching underprivileged children. She realized that her true purpose was to make a difference in these kids' lives. She would never have discovered this if she hadn't taken that time alone to explore and listen to her heart. Finding your purpose doesn't always mean making big, dramatic changes in your life. Sometimes it's about finding meaning in the everyday things you do. Maybe your purpose is to bring kindness into every interaction you have, or to use your talents to create beauty in the world. Remember, your purpose doesn't have to be something huge or world-changing. It just needs to be meaningful to you. And often, it's in the quiet moments alone that we can connect with what truly matters to us and start to understand the unique role we're meant to play in the world. So if you're feeling alone right now, try to see it as an opportunity. Use this time to really think about what you want from life, what you're passionate about, and how you want to make a difference. You might be surprised at what you discover about yourself and your purpose. The seventh reason God might want you to be alone is to help you build resilience. Resilience is like a superpower that helps us bounce back from tough times. It's the ability to face challenges, overcome setbacks, and keep moving forward even when things get hard. When we're always surrounded by others, it's easy to rely on them to help us through tough times. And while having support is important, we also need to learn how to pick ourselves up when we fall. Being alone forces us to develop this skill. Think about a time when you faced a problem and someone else solved it for you. You probably felt relieved, but did you learn how to solve that problem yourself? Now, imagine facing that same problem alone. It might be harder, but once you figure it out, you'll know how to handle it next time. Building resilience is like learning to ride a bike. At first, you might fall a lot and it feels scary, but each time you get back up and try again, you get a little better. Soon, you're riding without even thinking about it. In the same way, as you face challenges alone, you become more confident in your ability to handle whatever life throws at you. I remember when I lost my job a few years ago. At first, I felt lost and scared. I wanted someone to come and fix everything for me. But as I spent time alone, figuring out my next steps, I started to realize how strong I could be. I learned to update my resume, network for new opportunities, and even picked up some new skills while job hunting. It was tough, but by the end of it, I felt like I could handle anything. Resilience doesn't mean you never feel sad or scared or overwhelmed. It means that even when you feel those things, you believe in your ability to get through it. You know that tough times don't last forever, and you have the strength to weather the storm. So if you're alone and facing challenges, remember that you're building your resilience muscle. Each problem you solve, each fear you face, each day you get through, it all makes you stronger and more resilient. The eighth reason God might want you to be alone is to help you cultivate your creativity. Creativity isn't just for artists or musicians. It's a valuable skill for everyone. It helps us solve problems, express ourselves, and find new ways of looking at the world. When we're always around other people, we can sometimes fall into the trap of thinking like everyone else. We might worry about what others think or try to fit in with the crowd. But true creativity often requires us to think differently, to explore new ideas without fear of judgment. Being alone gives us the freedom to let our minds wander and explore. It's like giving your imagination room to run wild. Without the distractions of other people's thoughts and opinions, you can dive deep into your own ideas and see where they take you. Think about some of the great inventors and artists throughout history. Many of them did their best work when they were alone. They needed that quiet time to focus, to try new things, and to push the boundaries of what was possible. I remember when I first started writing, I was always worried about what other people would think, so I never shared my work. But during a period when I was spending a lot of time alone, I started writing just for myself. I didn't worry about whether it was good or bad. I just let the ideas flow. To my surprise, I found that I had a lot to say, and my writing got better and better the more I practiced. Cultivating creativity isn't just about making art or writing stories. It's about finding new solutions to problems, seeing things from different angles, and expressing your unique perspective on the world. Maybe you'll come up with a new recipe, or find a clever way to organize your home, or think of an innovative solution to a problem at work. So if you find yourself alone, use this time to let your creativity shine. Try new things without worrying about being perfect. Let your mind wander and see what ideas pop up. You might be surprised at what you can create when you give yourself the freedom to explore. The ninth and final reason God might want you to be alone is to prepare you for your future. Sometimes, the season of being alone is like a training ground for what's ahead. It's a time when you can develop the skills, strength, and wisdom you'll need for the next chapter of your life. Think of it like an athlete training for a big competition. They spend hours alone, practicing, building their strength, and preparing their mind. All of this solo work is crucial for their success when the big day comes. In the same way, your time alone might be preparing you for something big in your future. Maybe you're developing the strength you'll need to be a leader, or the wisdom you'll need to guide others. Maybe you're learning patience that will help you in a future relationship, or self-reliance that will allow you to pursue a challenging career. The thing is, we often can't see what we're being prepared for. It's like trying to put together a puzzle without knowing what the final picture looks like. Each piece, each lesson we learn, each skill we develop, might not make sense on its own. But when the time is right, all these pieces will come together to reveal the bigger picture. I remember a friend who spent several years living alone in a small apartment, working a job she didn't particularly like. She often felt lonely and wondered why her life seemed to be on hold while her friends were getting married and advancing in their careers. But during that time, she learned to manage her finances, developed a strong work ethic, and discovered a passion for helping others. Years later, she used all of these skills to start a successful nonprofit organization. Her time alone had been preparing her for a future she couldn't have imagined. It's natural to want to rush through periods of being alone, to wish for the next phase of life to hurry up and arrive. But try to see this time as valuable and purposeful. Every experience you have, every lesson you learn, is shaping you for your future. So embrace this time of preparation. Use it to become the best version of yourself. Develop your skills, strengthen your character, deepen your faith. Trust that all of this is leading somewhere, even if you can't see the destination yet. As we wrap up our exploration of these 9 reasons why God might want you to be alone, I hope you're starting to see your alone time in a new light. Being alone doesn't mean being lonely or forgotten. Instead, it can be a powerful time of growth, discovery, and preparation. Remember, being chosen for this time alone is not a punishment. It's an opportunity to discover who you really are, to strengthen your relationship with God, to develop inner strength and resilience. It's a chance to heal, to reflect, to find your purpose, and to cultivate your creativity. And through all of this, you're being prepared for a future that might be greater than anything you can imagine right now. I know that being alone can be challenging. There might be days when you feel lonely or frustrated. That's okay. Those feelings are normal and valid. But I encourage you to push through those tough moments. Remember the bigger picture. Every day you spend in this season of alone time is shaping you, strengthening you, and preparing you for what's ahead. Try to make the most of this time. Embrace the quiet moments for self-reflection. Push yourself to try new things and face your fears. Spend time deepening your relationship with God. Allow yourself to heal from past hurts. Let your creativity flow. And always remember that you are valuable, you are loved, and you have a unique purpose in this world. Your time of being alone won't last forever. One day, you'll look back on this period and see how it shaped you into the person you were meant to become. You'll see how every lesson learned, every challenge overcome, was preparing you for the life that was waiting for you. So to all of you who feel alone right now, I want you to know this. You are chosen. Not chosen for isolation, but chosen for preparation, chosen for growth, chosen for transformation. Embrace this time, learn from it, grow through it, and trust that when the time is right, all of this will make sense. You are not alone in your alone time. God is with you, guiding you, shaping you. And when you emerge from this season, you'll be stronger, wiser, and ready for whatever comes next. So hold your head high, chosen one. Your time of preparation is not a setback. It's a setup for something amazing.